Okay, you got the total revenue, which is R equals 820x dollars, and then the total cost function, C equals blah, 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 where C is measured in dollars, and for both functions, the input X is the number of units produced and sold. Okay, so part A says, form the profit function for this product from the two given functions. Well, profit is the same thing as the revenue minus the cost. And we were told that the revenue was 820x. And then you're going to minus the cost. And the cost is this function right here. And I have to put in parentheses because it's behind this subtraction sign. So it's 28,000 plus 80x plus x squared. And my math lab tells you to simplify this. So it's going to be P is equal to 820x, and then you're going to distribute the minus sign to all three of these. So it'll be minus 28,000 minus 80x minus x squared. And then I have two like terms, the 80x and the the 820x and the minus 80x, and those combine to be 740x. And that's really the only thing you can do to simplify it. And then if you want to put this in descending order, you can. My math lab does not care. So I'm back here at my math lab, and I got 740x minus 28,000. Whoops, one too many zeros. There we go, 28,000, and then minus x squared, and bam. Good job. Okay, and then part B pops up. Let me go back to my drawing here. Okay, and that's part A. And then part B wants to know what is the profit when 31 units are produced and sold. And remember that X is the number of units produced and sold. So profit is going to equal 740 times 31 minus 28,000 minus 31 squared. And when I punch that in, my calculator gives me actually a negative answer. It'll be negative 6,021. Me and my calculator, order of operations. There is a loss. Since it's negative, you would say loss and then just type in 6021. Fantastic. And then part C pops up and it says basically the same thing. Let's pick a different color. How about purple? And then part C is what is the profit when 45 units are produced and sold. So for part C, I'm going to be extremely lazy here. Part C, I would do this exact same function except stick in 45 here. And then I get a totally different answer. I get 3,275. And that's positive, so you would say a profit of 3,275. And bam. Fantastic. And then part D pops up. And part D is how many units must be sold to break even. And for break even, that is when your revenue is equal to your cost. So I need to erase all this because I need some space for this one. Which is going to make this a quadratic equation. So once you get it set up, set it equal to 0. I'm going to erase this too. revenue is equal to cost. Let's see, my revenue was the 820x, right? Here's revenue. And then my cost was that green stuff, 28,000 plus 80x plus x squared. And so I'm going to subtract the 820x from both sides. That makes this 0. And then I'm going to put this in descending order. The x squared would go first. These are my like terms. So 80 minus 820 is a negative 740x. And then I'll put the positive, so plus 28,000 here. Now at this point you have two choices. You can try to factor it, or you can use the quadratic formula. The square root method does not work because you'd need to complete the square to do it, so we can't do it here. And believe it or not, this actually factors, but since 28,000 is such a large number, and I'm sure most of you probably don't want to sit here all day trying to figure out all the pairs that multiply to give you 28,000, I am sure you guys are just going to grab the quadratic formula. However, I figured it out because it's a positive 28,000. Last times last either has to be a positive times a positive or a negative times a negative. And because my middle term is a negative, these both have to be negatives. And then I need two factors, two numbers that multiply to give me 28,000 that add up to 740. And they just happen to be 40 and 700, because 4 times 7 is 28, and 40 times 700 is 28,000, and they add up to 740. So it just kind of came to me when I looked at the 28, and I was like 4 and 7. But anywho, so this x right here would have to be 40, and this x right here would have to be 700. And so when you go back to my math lab, is blank, simplify your answer, use a comma to separate answers as needed. If I type in the 40 comma 700, what's it gonna say? Good job. I liked both answers. If one of them had been negative, obviously I would have thrown it out, because you can't have, you know, a negative units. So anyway, I hope that helps explain that. If you do use the quadratic formula, you would have to go with A is a 1, B is negative 740, and C is the 2800. And, you know, it's workable in the quadratic formula. It's just going to be really big numbers. And then you're going to get a perfect square underneath your radical, which will give you a perfect number. And then you have to work the two out to get the 40 and the 700. So anyway, there you go. Let me know if you need any more help on this one.